The call came in at 6:42 on a Tuesday morning, the kind of gray, drizzling morning that made everyone at Brackland Towing wish they'd called in sick. A loaded grain truck had slid off the county bridge on Route 9 and come to rest, wedged between the guardrail and a concrete piling, half hanging over the creek bed below. The dispatcher's voice on the radio was tight, clipped, the way it always got when a job looked bigger than it sounded. Dale Wexford, the tow boss, didn't even finish his coffee before he was out the door. Dale ran the biggest outfit in the county, and he ran it with a $380,000 Peterbilt mounted rotator that gleamed under the shop lights like something out of a catalog. Triple boom configuration, 50-ton capacity, the works. He bought it 2 years back after underbidding every competitor in 3 counties, and he liked to remind people of that fact whenever the opportunity arose. By the time Dale's rotator rolled up to the bridge, the scene was already a mess of flashing lights and orange cones. A sheriff's deputy waved him through the barricade, and Dale eased the massive rig into position, eyeing the grain truck's awkward angle with the practiced squint of a man who'd recovered 1,000 wrecks. It didn't take him long to start shaking his head. "This ain't gonna work the way we want," he said to his swamper, a younger man named Curtis who'd been riding with Dale for about a year. "Truck's hung up on the piling. If I pull from this angle, I'm gonna tear the frame in half before it ever clears the rail." Curtis frowned. "So what do? We wait for the crane. Gonna need a crane and a flatbed both, probably. This thing ain't moving with a rotator alone. Not safely. Not without risking the bridge structure or snapping that load right into the creek." It was a reasonable call. Any sensible operator would have made the same one. The grain truck sat at a punishing angle, twisted half over the rail, its trailer jackknifed, against the piling in a way that fought against every standard pulling angle a rotator needed. Dale wasn't wrong about the physics. He'd just forgotten, for a moment, that physics and stubbornness sometimes solved problems differently. That's when Earl Sutton showed up. Earl was 74 years old, built like a fence post, with hands that looked like they'd been carved out of old leather. He drove an ancient flatbed with a 1947 Holmes 750 wrecker bolted to the back of it, a machine so old that most people who saw it assumed it was decoration, something Earl kept around for nostalgia, maybe hauled out for county fairs. The Holmes 750 had a single boom, a hand-crank outrigger system, and a winch that ran on a worm gear drive that hadn't been manufactured in 70 years. It looked like a museum piece next to Dale's rotator, mostly because it was one. Earl had been running his own one-truck operation since before Dale was born. Technically speaking, since Earl had learned the trade from his father, who'd bought the Holmes new off the lot in Tulsa back when Truman was president. Earl didn't take many calls anymore. He was mostly retired, puttering around with farm equipment recovery and the occasional favor for old friends in the volunteer fire department. But the dispatcher had called him too, an old habit nobody had bothered to break, and Earl, never one to ignore a ringing phone, had climbed in his truck and driven out to see what the fuss was about. He parked behind the ambulance, took one look at the scene, and ambled up beside Dale without saying a word for a good 30 seconds. "Crane's an hour out," Dale said, more to fill the silence than anything. "Flatbed's coming with it. We'll get her sorted once they arrive." Earl chewed on something invisible, the way old men do when they're thinking. "Mind if I take a look?" Dale shrugged. "Be my guest. Already told you what I think." Earl walked the length of the bridge rail, studying the angle of the truck, the way the trailer had folded against the piling, the slope of the creek bank below. He crouched down near the rail, squinting at the undercarriage, at the spot where the frame had hung up against the concrete. He spent a long while just looking, not touching anything, the way a doctor might study an X-ray before deciding on a diagnosis. "You're right that pulling straight off the angle she's sitting at would tear her up," Earl finally said. "But she ain't sitting the way you think she's sitting." Dale crossed his arms. "I've looked at this rig from every side, Earl. There ain't a clean pull anywhere on this bridge." "Not from the bridge, no." Earl nodded toward the creek bank. "From down there." Dale frowned, following Earl's gaze down the slope toward the shallow creek, where the water ran maybe 2 feet deep over smooth stone. "You want to set up down in the creek bed? Bank's firm enough this time of year. I can get the truck down there, set my outriggers on the flat rock, and pull her sideways off that piling instead of trying to lift her straight up and over the rail. Pull with the angle of the frame instead of against it. She'll roll free instead of tearing." Dale was quiet for a moment, turning the idea over. It wasn't a bad idea exactly. It was the kind of idea that came from decades of watching wrecks settle into the ground in 1,000 different configurations, learning the quiet logic of how metal bends and where it wants to go when given the chance. But it was also the kind of idea that sounded almost too simple, especially next to a rotator with a 50-ton boom and computer-controlled outriggers. "With that," Dale finally said, nodding at the Holmes 750. "Earl, no offense, but that winch is single line, manual crank stabilizers. You're talking about pulling a loaded grain truck sideways off a bridge, piling with a machine. Older than I am." Earl smiled, the kind of smile that didn't need to argue. "Machine's old doesn't mean it's weak, just means it's simple. Simple machines don't have a computer telling them what they can't do." Dale wanted to laugh, but something about the way Earl said it, calm, unbothered, like he'd already done this exact job 100 times in his head before he ever climbed out of his truck, made him hold his tongue. "Tell you what," Dale said, "crane's still an hour out. You want to take a shot at it, I'm not going to stop you. But if that line snaps, or that truck slides into the creek, that's on you." "Fair enough," Earl said, and he was already walking back to his flatbed. It took Earl about 20 minutes to get the Holmes 750 positioned where he wanted it, easing the old truck down a service track that ran along the creek bank, a route Dale hadn't even noticed until Earl pointed it out. Curtis trailed along, partly out of curiosity, partly because Dale had told him to keep an eye on things and report back. Earl set his outriggers by hand, cranking each one down with slow, deliberate turns, checking the footing on each side before locking them into place. He ran his cable up to the frame of the grain truck, found an anchor point near the rear axle that nobody else had bothered to consider, and rigged it with a snatch block to change the angle of pull just enough to work with the natural lean of the pulled wreck instead of against it. Dale watched from up on the bridge, arms crossed, half expecting to see the cable go slack with a frustrated grinding noise the moment Earl tried to engage the winch. Instead, the old Holmes 750 let out a low, steady groan, a deep mechanical sound that had nothing rushed about it, and the cable drew taut, inch by inch. The grain truck shifted, just slightly, a few degrees off the piling, and Dale felt his stomach tighten with the kind of attention that comes when something unexpected starts to happen. Earl didn't rush it. He worked the winch in short pulls, stopping every few seconds to study the truck's response, adjusting the snatch block angle once, when the frame seemed to catch on a jagged piece of guardrail. He moved like a man who had all the time in the world, even though everyone else on that bridge was holding their breath. 15 minutes later, the grain truck rolled free of the piling with a heavy, grinding shudder and settled flat onto the bank, exactly where Earl had planned for it to land, well clear of the creek water and the soft mud beyond it. There was a stretch of silence on the bridge. Even the deputy, who'd been pacing near his cruiser the whole time, stopped to stare. Dale climbed down the bank slowly, taking in the truck's new position, the taut cable still humming faintly with tension before Earl eased it off. He walked the length of the frame, checking for the kind of stress damage he'd expected to see, and finding almost none. "How long you been doing this trick?" Dale asked, not quite able to keep the surprise out of his voice. Earl shrugged, already coiling cable by hand. Same trick my daddy taught me. Ain't no trick, really. Just paying attention to which way a thing wants to go before you decide which way you're gonna make it go. Dale looked back at his rotator, parked uselessly up on the bridge, then back at the old Holmes, dripping a little hydraulic fluid onto the rocks, but otherwise looking none the worse for the morning's work. I had 50 tons of lifting capacity, sitting 20 feet away, and couldn't figure the angle, Dale admitted. You had, what, 10 tons on a good day, and you walked right up and solved it in 20 minutes. Ain't about the tons, Earl said. Never was. Big machine'll get you out of a jam if you've got the room and the angle to use it right. But sometimes the room ain't there, and the angle ain't there, and all the horsepower in the world won't change that. Only thing that changes it is knowing the ground, knowing the load, and not being in a hurry to prove how big your toy is. Dale didn't have much of an answer for that. He stood there a moment longer, watching Earl finish securing his cable, then walked back up to call off the crane. By the time the flatbed truck arrived to haul the grain truck away for repairs, word of what had happened had already spread along the radio chatter between dispatch and the responding units. A couple of the volunteer firemen who'd been standing by came over to shake Earl's hand. The deputy snapped a photo of the old Holmes 750 still parked on the creek bank, its boom catching the gray morning light in a way that made it look, for just a moment, like something built to last 100 years rather than something left behind by progress. Curtis, still a little wide-eyed, walked over to Earl while he packed up his gear. How'd you know that would work? I mean really know it, not just guess? Earl considered the question for a moment, the way he considered most questions, without rushing toward an answer just to fill the silence. You spend enough years pulling wrecks out of ditches and creek beds and barn lots, he said. You start to see the shape of the problem before you even touch the truck. Every wreck's got a natural way it wants to come loose. Your job ain't to force it loose your way. It's to find that natural way and just give it a little help. That's it? That's most of it. Rest is just patience. Folks get in a hurry. They start pulling against the grain instead of with it, and that's when things tear up or come down wrong. Big machine, small machine, don't matter. Patience matters. Dale overheard the tail end of that conversation as he walked past, securing a strap on the flatbed. He didn't say anything right away, just nodded slightly, filing it away the way a man files away a lesson he wishes he'd learned sooner. Before Earl climbed back into his old flatbed to head home, Dale walked over one more time. I'll be straight with you, Dale said. I wasn't expecting much when you pulled up. Figured you were here to watch, maybe relive old times. Earl chuckled. Figured that myself, this morning. Appreciate what you did out here. Truthfully, I might have torn that frame clean in half if I'd tried it my way before the crane showed. Wasn't your way that was wrong, Earl said. Just wasn't the only way. Sometimes the right way ain't the one with the most horsepower behind it. Dale extended a hand, and Earl shook it, his grip firm despite 7 decades of wear. You ever want extra work? Dale said. Outfit could use someone who thinks the way you do. Earl smiled and shook his head slowly. Appreciate the offer, but I think I'll leave the big jobs to fellas like you and that rotator of yours. I just come around when the angle gets tricky. He climbed into his flatbed, the old Holmes 750 rattling gently behind the cab, and pulled away from the bridge at a pace that seemed almost leisurely compared to the morning's close tension. Dale watched him go, then turned back toward his crew, calling out instructions for securing the load on the flatbed, already thinking through the report he'd have to file, already turning over in his mind how he was going to explain to his boss that the job had gotten done, just not quite the way anyone expected. Word of the recovery got around the county fast, the way stories do in small places, picking up small exaggerations here and there, but mostly staying true to the heart of it. A man old enough to draw Social Security had walked up with a wrecker older than most of the bridges in for the county, and solved a problem that a brand-new rotator, gleaming and expensive and packed with modern engineering, hadn't been able to touch. A few weeks later, at the diner where most of the tow operators in the county grabbed breakfast before their shifts, someone brought it up again, half joking, asking Dale if he was going to trade in his rotator for an old Holmes. Dale just shook his head and smiled into his coffee. Nah, keep the rotator. Just gonna start asking Earl for advice before I start cussing at a wreck instead of after. Earl, for his part, never made much of the story when people brought it up to him at the feed store or the gas station. He'd just shrug and say the same thing he always said, the same thing his father had told him decades earlier, standing beside that very same Holmes 750, the day it rolled fresh off the lot in Tulsa. Machines don't solve problems, he'd say. Folks solve problems. Machines just help, if you let 'em. The grain truck got repaired and rolled again within the month. The bridge got a small reinforcement to its guardrail not long after, a quiet acknowledgement from the county that maybe that particular piling needed a little extra attention. Dale's rotator kept doing what it did best, handling the big jobs, the heavy lifts, the recoveries, where raw capacity mattered more than finesse. And Earl's 1947 Holmes 750 went back to sitting quietly in his barn most days, worn and outdated by every modern measure, waiting for the next time somebody needed a problem solved, not by the size of the machine, but by the patience and understanding of the man running it.